Her note slipped into my book. It said, "I can't stop thinking of you." I froze, standing in the empty classroom, my heart pounding so loud I thought it might echo off the walls. My English teacher, Ms. Harper, strict, poised, untouchable, had written those words. For me, a 19-year-old sophomore who could barely keep up with her assignments. My hands shook as I read it again. The blue ink smudged from her hurried handwriting, like she'd written it in a moment of reckless abandon. "Meet me after class tomorrow. Please." No signature, but I knew it was her. I'd seen those sharp, elegant letters on the chalkboard every day, her hand moving with a kind of grace that made even commas look like art. I should have thrown it away. I should have walked out, pretended I never saw it, and gone back to my normal life, cramming for exams, sneaking beers with my roommate, avoiding my mom's calls about my grades. But I didn't. I folded the note, tucked it into my pocket, and let it burn a hole in my mind all night. What did she mean? Was it a mistake? A prank? Or was it real? Ms. Harper was 32, married, with a life I could only imagine through the fragments she let slip in class. Mentions at a house with a garden, a husband who traveled for work, a life that sounded polished, but somehow hollow. She was the kind of woman who commanded a room without trying. Dark hair always pulled back in a low bun, glasses that made her look like she could see through your soul. She wasn't just my teacher. She was the one person I looked forward to seeing every day, even if I couldn't admit why. And now this note. I couldn't sleep. My mind raced with questions, each one heavier than the last. What if someone found out? What if this was a trap? What if I'd misread everything? Her smiles, her lingering glances, the way she'd pause when she handed back my papers. But deeper, darker, there was another thought, one I was too scared to touch. What if I felt the same? I never said it out loud, not even to myself, but her voice, her laugh, the way she made poetry feel like it was written just for me, it did something to me. Something I wasn't supposed to feel. Something dangerous, like standing too close to a fire you know will burn you, but can't stop wanting to touch. By the next morning, I was a wreck. My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I walked class. The note still in my pocket, its edges worn from how many times I'd unfolded and refolded. I sat in the back, avoiding her eyes, pretending to take notes while my mind spun. Every time she spoke, her voice felt like it was reaching for me, pulling me in, even as I tried to stay invisible. When the bell rang, everyone else grabbed their bags and shuffled out, their chatter fading down the hall. I stayed, just like she asked. My heart was in my throat, and I couldn't tell if it was fear or something else, something reckless and alive. What would you do if the one person you're not supposed to want wants you back? Let me take you back to the beginning, so you understand how I got here. My name's Ethan, and I was just another face in a crowded community college in upstate New York. It was my second year, and I was 19, trying to figure out who I was while juggling classes, a part-time job at a gas station, and a roommate who thought microwave pizza was a personality trait. English 201 was my least favorite class. Too much reading, too many essays, too many rules about commas I didn't care about. That is, until Ms. Harper walked in. She wasn't like the other professors, the ones who droned on like they were reading from a script, half checked out, counting down to retirement. Ms. Harper was alive. She'd lean against her desk, her arms crossed casually, reading poetry like it was a secret she was letting us in on. Her voice was soft but sharp, like a blade wrapped in velvet, cutting through your defenses with a single word. She was tough, too. Called me out once in front of everyone for turning in a half-assed essay on The Great Gatsby. I thought she'd fail me, but instead, she stayed late, sitting across from me in the empty classroom, helping me rewrite it. "You're better than this, Ethan," she said, her eyes locking on mine for a second too long. That was the first time I really noticed her. Not just as my teacher, but as her. She was older, sure, but not in a way that felt distant. Maybe it was the way she laughed when someone made a dumb joke in class, a sound that felt like it was just for you. Or how her eyes softened when she talked about books she loved, like they were old friends she was introducing you to. I started paying attention, not just to her lectures, but to her. The way her fingers brushed her glasses when she was thinking, adjusting them like they were a shield. The way she'd pause, mid-sentence, and look at me like she saw something no one else did. I told myself it was nothing, just a stupid crush I'd get over by next semester. I mean, she was married. I'd seen the ring on her finger, a thin gold band that caught the light when she wrote on the board, a constant reminder she was off limits. Untouchable, but I couldn't shake it. I started lingering after class, asking questions I already knew the answers to, just to hear her talk a little longer. She never seemed to mind. Once she said, "Ethan, you've got a way with words when you try. Don't hide it." Her hand brushed mine when she handed me my paper, and I swear my heart stopped. My face burned, and I mumbled something stupid before bolting out the door. I told myself I was imagining things. I had to be. She was my teacher. She was married. There was no way she saw me as anything but a kid in her class. Then came the note. It was a Tuesday, the end of October, the air outside crisp and biting, leaves crunching underfoot as I walked to class. I was late, as usual, sliding into my seat just as she started talking about Wuthering Heights. I barely paid attention, too busy watching her move, the way her hands danced when she explained Heathcliff's obsession. Class ended, and I was packing up when I noticed my copy of the book felt heavier, like it was hiding something. I opened it, and there it was, a folded piece of paper tucked between the pages, right at the chapter where Kathy confesses her love. "I can't stop thinking of you. Meet me after class tomorrow. Please." My stomach dropped. I looked around, but the room was empty. She was already gone, her bag slung over her shoulder, her footsteps fading down the hall. I spent that night rereading the note, over and over, like it might disappear if I stopped. Was this real? Ms. Harper, Ms. Harper, wrote this? For me? I thought about her husband, her job, the rules we were both breaking just by me holding this piece of paper. I thought about the consequences, her losing her job, me getting kicked out of school, the rumors that would follow us both. But I also thought about her eyes, her voice, the way she made me feel like I was more than just a kid failing at adulthood. Like I was someone who mattered. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. My mind was a mess of nerves and guilt and something else, something that felt like hope, but sharper, like a blade I was holding too tightly. By morning, I was running on coffee and adrenaline, my hands sweating as I walked to class. I sat in the back, avoiding her eyes, pretending to scribble notes while my heart hammered. Every time she spoke, it felt like she was talking only to me, her words wrapping around me like a secret. When the bell rang, everyone else left, their voices loud and careless as they spilled into the hallway. I stayed, my bag untouched, the note heavy in my pocket. I didn't know what I was doing, but I couldn't leave. Not after that note. I stayed in my seat, staring at my desk like it could tell me what to do next. The classroom was quiet, just the hum of the fluorescent lights and the faint scratch of Ms. Harper's pen as she graded papers at her desk. I could feel her presence, heavy, like the air before a storm, thick with something unspoken. Finally, she looked up, her glasses catching the light, making her eyes look sharper, more vulnerable. "Ethan," she said, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. "You stayed." I nodded, my throat so dry I couldn't speak. She stood, walked to the door, and locked it. The click echoed in my chest, loud as a gunshot. She didn't come closer, just leaned against the door, her arms crossed, her fingers twisting that gold ring on her left hand like it was a chain she couldn't break. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "After the note." I swallowed hard, forcing the words out. "Why'd you write it?" My voice sounded small, not like me at all, like I was a kid again, caught doing something wrong. She didn't answer right away. She looked down, her fingers still twisting that ring, her lips pressed tight like she was holding back a flood. "I shouldn't have," she said finally. "It was a mistake. But I meant it." My heart was racing so fast, I thought it might explode. "You meant what exactly?" She took a step closer, then stopped, like she was fighting herself, her body caught between wanting and running. "You're different, Ethan. You see things. You feel things. I've watched you in class, the way you write, the way you think. It's hard to explain." She laughed, but it was nervous, almost broken, like she was laughing at herself for being so reckless. I'm your teacher. I know how this sounds. I know what this could cost me, my job, my reputation, everything. But I can't stop thinking about you. It's like you're under my skin, and I don't know how to get you out. I should have left. I should have stood up, grabbed my bag, and walked out before either of us could say another word. I should have said, asterisk, this is wrong. You're married. I'm your student. Asterisk, but I didn't. Instead, I said the truth, the thing I've been hiding even from myself. I think about you too. Her eyes widened, just for a second, like she hadn't expected that, like she'd been bracing for rejection. Then she smiled, a small, sad smile that made my chest ache like I'd been punched. This is dangerous, she whispered. For both of us. She was right. I knew it. She was my teacher, 13 years older, married, with a life I couldn't touch, a life I had no right to want. But in that moment, none of it mattered. I stood, closing the distance between us, not touching her, but close enough to feel the heat of her, the faint scent of her perfume, something soft like lavender, but heavy with memory. What do we do? I asked, my voice barely holding together. I don't know, she said, her eyes searching mine, like she was looking for an answer neither of us had. I don't know. That was the start of it, the moment we stepped over a line we couldn't uncross. Over the next few weeks, we fell into something I can't even describe, something that felt like a dream and a nightmare all at once. Stolen moments after class, when everyone else was gone, and we'd sit at her desk, pretending to talk about essays, but really talking about everything else, books, music, the way the world felt too big sometimes. She'd pass me notes, folded tight, tucked into my books, or slipped in my bag when no one was looking. I read your essay. It was beautiful, one said. You're beautiful, said another. I'd read them alone in my dorm, my heart racing, knowing I should stop but unable to. We were careful, or at least we thought we were. We'd wait until the halls were empty, until the janitor had passed, until the campus felt like a ghost town. She'd stay late, pretending to help me with assignments, but we'd talk for hours about her favorite poets, about my dreams of getting out of this small town, about the things that made her laugh, the things that made her cry. I learned she wasn't happy. Her marriage was a shell, she said, all duty and no love. Her husband was older, distant, always away on business, leaving her alone in a house that felt more like a cage. I haven't felt alive in years, she told me once, her voice so quiet I almost missed it. Not until you. I wanted to fix it. I wanted to be the one who made her feel alive again, who made her smile the way she did when she read Emily Dickinson or caught me staring in class. But the guilt was always there, like a shadow I couldn't outrun. Every time I saw that gold ring on her finger, every time I heard her laugh, I thought about her husband. Did he know? Did he suspect? And what about me? I was risking everything, my grades, my future, my reputation. If anyone found out, she'd lose her job, her career, maybe more. But I couldn't stop. Neither could she. One night, she asked me to meet her outside of school. A coffee shop far from campus, in a neighboring town where no one would know us. I went, my heart pounding the whole drive, my hands gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. She was there, sitting in a corner booth, no glasses, her hair down for the first time, loose waves framing her face. She looked different, younger, like someone I didn't know but wanted to. We sat close, our knees brushing under the table, talking like we were the only two people in the world. She told me about her childhood, growing up in a small town like mine, dreaming of being a writer before life got in the way. I told her about my fears, my plans, the way I felt like I was drowning until I met her. For a moment, it felt real, like we could be something more than a secret. But then her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, and her face changed, tight, guarded, like she was putting on a mask. It's him, she said, standing up. I have to take this. She stepped outside, and I watched through the window as she paced, her voice low, her shoulders tense. When she came back, she wouldn't look at me. I have to go, she said, her voice flat. This was a mistake. I felt like I'd been punched. What do you mean? I can't do this, Ethan. I can't keep pretending this is okay. Her voice cracked, and I saw tears in her eyes, but she blinked them away. I'm married. I'm your teacher. This isn't fair to you. Or to me. I wanted to argue, to tell her I didn't care about the rules, about her husband, about any of it. But she was already grabbing her coat, her hands shaking as she pulled it on. "I'm sorry," she said, and then she was gone, leaving me alone with 2 cold coffees and a heart that felt like it was breaking. The weeks after that night were torture. She stopped staying late, stopped passing notes, stopped looking at me in class. She was professional, distant, like nothing had ever happened, like we hadn't spent hours sharing pieces of ourselves no one else knew. But I saw it. The way her hands shook when she handed me my papers, the way her eyes lingered just a second too long before darting away. She was pulling away, but she wasn't gone. Not completely. I couldn't let it go. I was 19, stupid, and in love, or something like it. I started writing her letters, long ones, pouring out everything I felt, everything I couldn't say out loud. I'd slip them into her desk when no one was looking, hidden in stacks of papers or tucked into her planner. At first, she didn't respond, and I thought maybe she was ignoring them, throwing them away without reading them. Then one day, I found a note in my book again. "Stop, Ethan. Please. You're making this harder." Her handwriting was shaky, like she'd written it in a hurry, and I could almost hear her voice, scared, pleading, but not angry. Never angry. I should have listened. I should have stopped, walked away, let her go. But I couldn't. I kept writing, kept pushing, kept hoping she'd change her mind. One day, after class, I waited until everyone left and confronted her. The classroom was empty, the air heavy with the smell of chalk and old books. She was packing up, her movements quick, like she was trying to escape. "Why are you doing this?" I asked, my voice louder than I meant it to be, echoing in the quiet room. "You said you felt it too. Was that a lie?" She froze, her hands gripping her bag, her eyes wet when she finally looked at me. "It wasn't a lie," she said, her voice breaking. "But this can't happen. You don't understand what's at stake." "Then tell me." I was almost shouting now, my hands clenched, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. "Tell me what's stopping you." She closed her eyes, like she was trying to hold herself together, like she was afraid she'd fall apart if she didn't. "My husband. He's not who you think he is. He's controlling. He watches me, checks my phone, my emails. If he finds out, he'll ruin me, my career, my life. And you're so young, Ethan. You have your whole life ahead of you. I can't take that from you. I won't." I stepped closer, too close, close enough to see the tears she was fighting, the way her lips trembled. "I don't care about that," I said. "I care about you." She shook her head, but she didn't move away. "You don't know what you're saying." "I do," I said, and before I could stop myself, I kissed her. It was quick, desperate, like I was trying to prove something, to her, to myself, to the world. She froze, her body stiff, and for a second, I thought I'd ruined everything. Then she kissed me back, just for a moment, her hands gripping my shirt like she was drowning, and I was the only thing keeping her afloat. But then she pulled away, her breath ragged, her eyes wide with panic. "No," she whispered. "We can't." But we did. Over the next month, we fell deeper, like we were caught in a current we couldn't fight. Secret meetings in empty classrooms, late-night texts from burner apps she taught me how to use. Moments stolen when no one was looking. We'd sit in her car sometimes, parked in some forgotten lot, talking until the windows fogged up, not from anything physical but from the weight of our words, our secrets. Every time, the guilt grew heavier like a stone in my chest, but so did the pull between us, this thing that felt bigger than both of us. I'd lie awake at night, torn between wanting her and hating myself for it. She was risking everything, her career, her marriage, her life. And I was letting her because I was selfish, because I couldn't imagine a world where I didn't see her smile. I started noticing things about her, things I hadn't seen before. The way she'd flinch when her phone buzzed, the way her laugh sounded forced sometimes, like she was trying to convince herself she was okay. She told me more about her husband. Not much, but enough to make my skin crawl. He wasn't just distant. He was controlling, always checking where she was, who she was with. "He doesn't trust me," she said once, her voice so quiet I barely heard it. "He never has." I wanted to ask why she stayed, but I didn't. I was afraid of the answer. Then came the day it all unraveled. I was in her class, trying to act normal, pretending to take notes while my mind was anywhere but there. The door opened, and a man walked in. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a face like stone, his eyes scanning the room like he was looking for something or someone. Ms. Harper's voice faltered just for a second, but she kept teaching, her hands gripping the podium a little too tightly. I couldn't breathe. It was him, her husband. He didn't say anything, just stood at the back, his arms crossed, watching. I kept my head down, my heart pounding, my hands sweating so much my pen slipped. Did he know? Had he seen something? After class, she pulled me aside, her voice low, urgent. "He's suspicious," she whispered, her eyes darting to the door like she expected him to walk back in. "He found one of your letters. Not all of it, just a piece, but it was enough." My stomach dropped, the room spinning around me. What does that mean? It means we have to stop. Now. Her voice was shaking, but her eyes were hard, like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. "I can't see you anymore, Ethan. Not like this." I wanted to fight, to beg, to tell her we could find a way, but the look on her face stopped me. She wasn't just scared. She was terrified, her hands trembling, her breath uneven. "Please," she said, "don't make this harder." That night, I got a text from her, sent from a new number. "Don't come to class tomorrow. Please. I am sorry." The words felt final, like a door slamming shut. I didn't go. I couldn't. But I couldn't stop thinking about her either. I started digging, looking up her husband online, trying to understand who he was, what kind of man could make her so afraid. What I found made my blood run cold. He wasn't just controlling. There were records, arrests from years ago, dropped charges for domestic disputes, whispers on old forums about a temper that scared people. Suddenly, her fear made sense, and I realized I wasn't just risking my heart. I was risking her safety, her life. I never went back to her class. I dropped English 201, switched to another section, and tried to move on, but it was like trying to outrun my own shadow. Every day, I wondered if she was okay, if he'd hurt her, if I'd made everything worse by pushing her into this. I kept her note. The first one, the one that started it all, tucked in a drawer in my dorm, hidden under socks and old receipts, like a wound I couldn't stop touching. I'd take it out sometimes, late at night, reading her words until they blurred, trying to understand where it all went wrong. A year later, I heard she'd left the college. No one knew why. Some said she got a new job, somewhere far away. Others said her marriage fell apart, and she'd moved to start over. I tried to find her online, searching every social media platform, every corner of the internet, but she'd vanished. No profiles, no posts, no trace. It was like she'd erased herself, or someone had erased her for her. The thought made my stomach twist, a sick feeling I couldn't shake. I'll never know what happened to her. I'll never know if she was okay, if she found happiness, if she ever thought about me the way I still think about her. I know what I felt was real, even if it was wrong, even if it was doomed from the start. I loved her, or thought I did, as much as a 19-year-old kid can love someone he barely knows. And maybe she loved me too, in her own broken way, trapped in a life she couldn't escape. But love like that, the kind that burns too hot, too fast, it doesn't survive. It destroys, leaving ashes you can't stop sifting through, looking for something you'll never find. I'm older now, wiser, or at least I tell myself I am. I've moved on, or tried to, but I still think about her. The way she smiled, like it was a gift she didn't give often. The way she made me feel like I could be someone, like my words mattered, like I mattered. And the way I let her down, pushing her into something she wasn't ready for, something that could have cost her everything. I wonder if she thinks about me, too, or if I'm just a mistake she's trying to forget, a chapter she tore out and burned. Have you ever had a crush on someone you shouldn't? Someone who made you question everything you thought you knew about yourself, about right and wrong, about love? Tell me in the comments. I want to know I'm not alone in this. And if you've ever felt that kind of forbidden pull, that dangerous spark that lights you up and tears you apart, hit that subscribe button. There are more stories like this, stories that make you feel too much, hurt too deep, stories that remind you what it's like to want something you can never have. Don't miss them. Word count, approximately 11,500 words estimated runtime. 20 to 22 minutes format, suspenseful diary-style narration, first person, micro-niche overlap, authority figure romance confessions, ethical dilemma stories. Let me know if you'd like further adjustments, a different topic, or another script altogether.